I'm Megan Skidmore, and welcome to the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I'm a woman, daughter, sister, spouse, mother, life coach, and person of faith on a mission to normalize asking questions and allowing doubts on a faith journey and all aspects of life. Join me as I bring this traditionally taboo topic out of the shadows of shame and into the light. I firmly believe we normalize through more talking and engaging in discussion. More talking peels back, exposes, and erases the layers of shame associated with asking questions and allowing doubts. When we are more authentic about our journey, we are more powerful because shame has no power in the face of authenticity. Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast is a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network, which is part of the Dialogue Journal found at dialoguejournal.com. Founder Eugene England was a Mormon writer, teacher, and scholar who wrote, "My faith encourages my curiosity and awe. It thrusts me out into relationship with all creation and encourages me to enter into dialogue. My hope is that this podcast is an extension of that vision." Hey everyone, welcome to the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast. Today we're talking about change. Why are we so afraid of change? Recently, actually on Easter Sunday, I watched the 10 Commandments, and I'm talking like the original 1952 version with Charlton Heston as Moses. And although it was hard to watch the depiction of women, even though it was accurate for the time period, I really appreciate the reenactment and the literal storytelling of Moses and the children of Israel. And it occurred to me since then, there were two great opposing forces, one vying for change, the Hebrews wanting their freedom, and the other fighting it literally to the death, Pharaoh and the Egyptians wanting to keep the Hebrews in bondage. I'm assuming if you're listening, you know the general story. And that this was not a process that happened overnight. We don't know the exact amount of time over which the plagues occurred. Some say 5 to 6 months, others say each of the plagues couldn't have lasted more than 2 weeks each. Regardless, we can agree that this process of Pharaoh's heart and mind changing was very complex. It has many moving parts and happens over time. Personally, I don't see change as an end goal. There's always more we can aspire to and become. I'm not sure that there is a fixed point where we can finally say we've reached our outcome. I don't believe that exists. That would be the opposite of eternal progression. So why do we resist it? Why do we fear change? Like Pharaoh, do we only surrender to change when the price of remaining in place is higher than the cost of change? Perhaps. What does that say about our perception of change? Or our ability to lean into and even embrace it? Why this seemingly perpetual fear surrounding the topic of change? Brene Brown has said, change is uncomfortable and hard as hell. Those are actually two really good reasons why we resist change. If you consider a faith-based setting, biblically speaking, the use of the word repentance is often equated with change. Scripturally defined, repentance is a change of heart and mind that brings us closer to God. And that's found at churchofjesuschrist.org. At Christianity.com, I found some interesting information. It says in the Old Testament, 2 Hebrew words help us understand repentance. The first is the word nacham. I'm probably saying that incorrectly. It's N-A-C-H-A-M, which means to turn around or to change your mind. The second is the word sub. It is used over 600 times in the Old Testament and is translated by such words as turn, return, seek, or restore. And you often see it in phrases like to turn to the Lord with all your heart. When you come to the New Testament, you need to know the Greek word metanoia, which literally means to change the mind. Repentance fundamentally means to change your mind about something. It has to do with the way you think about something. Perhaps you've been thinking one way, but now you think the opposite way. That's repentance, the changing of the mind. And again, that's from Christianity.com. Very interesting take. So according to the original meaning, repentance seems to be less of a focus on good versus evil, but rather more of a focus on leaving old ways behind, changing your mind about them, gaining new perspective, evolving into the next best version of you, expanding, or some call it even up-leveling. We are literally becoming a different person. And from a mental health standpoint, this is a much healthier focus. There tends to bring up shame and then subsequently your worth if you're focused on a bad versus good choice. So that brings us back to the original question. Why are we so afraid of change? Bottom line, because we don't want to feel the emotions that the idea of change brings up. It is those emotions, whichever ones come up for you, that we will need to feel in order to navigate change. That is what is underlying any resistance to or avoidance of change. Simply put, we don't want to experience the discomfort that comes along with change. So think about something that you would like to see going differently for you. Perhaps it's a career move. Perhaps it's speaking something out loud to loved ones that's a hard truth to share. Or maybe it's having to do with a relationship. And then ask yourself, what are you fearing? Perhaps you fear rejection. Perhaps you feel the fear of failure, or you fear the unknown. Perhaps you don't want increased uncertainty in your life and having to tolerate more ambiguity. Whatever it is, we aren't really taught to feel these feelings. The paradox, however, is that the only way to loosen them, dissolve them, move through them, and come out on the other side is to feel them. And in the same way that we have physical energy that we use, we also have emotional energy that needs to be expended. And we're not always good at turning that energy into a productive fuel. That doesn't mean it's not a skill that can be learned. It can. Perhaps you have experienced this in some way. It might look like avoidance of a situation or person, or maybe taking action. It might look like resisting taking that next step that you know you need to take. It might be remaining in a place of denial of what is already going on around you, or of something that seems to be inevitable. And an example of that could be a child graduating high school and going off to college and having the opportunity to try out adulting for the first time. At any rate, there is a way to take the energy created by whatever emotion you're feeling and use it productively. And this is where I can help as a life coach. So the next time you're feeling fear about something, anything, that is an invitation to pause, to reflect, to journal, perhaps. The idea is to increase your awareness around the fear. Ask yourself, what is it that is making you feel fearful? What exactly is coming up for you? What thoughts do you have when you're afraid of fill in the blank? The reason why you want to raise your awareness around this is because there is a story there that is fueling the fear. And when you figure out what that story is, you will be able to release those uncomfortable emotions, including fear, as you examine and dissolve the story and decide which parts to keep and which parts to let go that aren't serving you. A story, a belief, an opinion, a thought, these are all synonyms for a sentence in our brain. That's what they are. And all of them create our feelings, whether that's fear or anxiety or worry. And we act from this place, whichever the emotion is. If the emotion is fear, we're going to act from a place of fear. I can help you dissolve the story by first showing you what you cannot currently see. These stories that you are unable to separate yourself from. Right now, you see them as fact, or maybe even as part of your identity. It is not yet in your awareness that you have a choice of whether or not to keep them. Today in Mastermind, my mentor, Mira, said, fear keeps us worried about the future and is our biggest enemy. I would love to know your thoughts on this episode and how you experience fear or change or any of these other things mentioned in life. Send me an email at hello@meganskidmorecoaching.com. Thanks so much for being here. Until next time. First Friday's free coaching, a confidential group to bring all the questions, vent frustrations, share fears, express doubts. Navigating a new and uncertain reality is hard enough. Let's remove the worry of judgment from others. In this group, I will help you help yourself so that you can be there for your child, family, loved ones, and for you too. Click the link in the show notes to sign up. You must complete the agreement. Hopeful Spaces is a Dallas Hope Charities component of Hopeful Discussions, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial Services USA. It's a free monthly parent, ally, or caregiver support group facilitated by Megan Skidmore Coaching. Email chc@dallashopecharities.org for more info. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com to find this podcast and additional free resources, including the link for a complimentary coaching session. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more, or to send me a DM. Help the podcast grow. Please follow, review, and share with a friend.